Hey guys, Claire here with Clarity Nutrition. I'm here to talk to you today about tracking, whether that is tracking macros, tracking calories, tracking your intake, just tracking something. Because there is a ton of benefits out there for tracking your intake. Unfortunately, there is a lot of connotation as well about tracking. Usually, if you see someone with MyFitnessPal pulled up on their phones, likely they're gonna be thought that they have low self-body image, they want to lose weight, all they care about is the food that goes in their body, maybe they have an eating disorder. Typically those are the things I hear when it comes to just you see someone tracking their intake, they're too obsessive, they don't have fun, anything like that. Most of that is not true. There are way more benefits to tracking than just that. So when I have my personal self doing it, and when I have my clients doing tracking their intake with some sort of app, I'm doing it for more than just helping them lose weight or just giving them some numbers to put into their body. The end goal for me with tracking macros is to never track ever again. So they can go the rest of their life unless they make the decision to just start tracking their intake again. My goal by the time that my clients are done working with me, whether that's 3, 6, 12, 18, 24, you name it, months working with me, they don't have to track. I actually require a 30-day termination notice so that I can take 30 days and teach my clients how to intuitively eat and how to get through a day, getting the calories that they need to survive and to thrive in their bodies. So when it comes to intuitive eating, which is, I guess, the big end goal that most of us have, is to intuitively eat. And it's the process where you go through a day and you just intuitively recognize, I'm hungry, I need to eat this. And you go through the day and you are still fueling yourself properly, getting the right number of calories in, the right proportions of everything. You're able to look at your plate and be like, that's about a cup, etc. That's the basis of intuitive eating, and that's what everyone wants to do. And a lot of people don't want to track because they want the freedom to intuitively eat. And I completely understand. I as well want that freedom to intuitively eat. Unfortunately, most of us have gone through our lives severely under eating by as many as 1,000 calories, if not more. I've had clients come to me eating 900, 1,000 calories. I personally have eaten 1,200 calories in my past. I now eat upwards of like 2,700 calories. But it was not intuitive for me to do that. I couldn't have ever gotten to that point where I was not being injured and I was sleeping and I was healthy and losing weight and XYZ, PRing at the gym, feeling really, really happy and good and hormonally sound if I didn't track my intake first to retrain my mind and my stomach and my body and my digestion system to adapt to the intake that I actually needed. So for me, when I have clients track, it is more than just losing weight. It's more than just having some set of random numbers given to you that you have to adhere to, but you don't learn the reason behind them or how to apply them to your real life. For me, intuitively, or to track your food, is to earn the right to intuitively eat. So I have tracking to teach people portion control, awareness of what's going in their body, awareness of what their bodies need to go through a day. I have some clients do a macro tracker where they report their macros every other day, and in addition, how they slept, how they ate, how their hunger was, how their fatigue was, so that they could see correlations of, oh shit, I ate 900 calories that day on accident and I slept 5 hours, and when I usually sleep 9. So that is the tool, that is some of the benefits when it comes to tracking your intake, is teaching awareness and how to fuel your body properly so that you can intuitively eat. So you can go off your tracking template and be able to just go through a day and be like, I want breakfast and I want this X, Y, and Z. And hypothetically, if you decided to just plug in those numbers and see how much you ate that day, it would be within 100 to 200 calories of how much you're burning. So that's the benefit of tracking. And I understand the arguments of why certain people don't want to track, but I do encourage you to keep an open mind. And if you are wanting to see results, if you're wanting to feel better, lose weight more effectively, and if you do want to eat more, then tracking usually is pretty much required because you need to retrain your body and your mind and everything to be able to do that. Think of it like an injury or resetting a bone. So if you break a bone, your doctor is going to put it together maybe with a cast or a splint or something, but you're going to have to rehab it. You're going to have to potentially have a cast to keep the bone from moving. So the bone was in a new position and they had to put it together, but then they had to stabilize it for a couple of months or weeks or you name it. And then from there you had to build your strength back up. It wasn't like, oh, let's reset your bone. Okay, we're good to go. Kind of goes the same thing about retraining your mind when it comes to food and your whole physical body when it comes to changing how you're eating. So that is some of the benefits of tracking. So without all that, now let me just give you some of the tidbits and tricks that I use when I track so that you guys know how to track and use tracking for more than just logging in your food. So the first thing that you want to do is pick the system that you want to use. You can use an app. That is what I recommend. That's what I personally use. Apps are very typically user-friendly depending on the app. And the reason that I use apps is because it just totals things up for you. You don't have to do the math. You can just go in. It kind of makes things more convenient. It'll add up the fat sources from the olive oil, the protein bar that you ate, the milk that you drank that morning, the eggs and bacon you had for breakfast. It'll total up the protein, fats, and carbs. And it makes things a lot more simple and just convenient. It also will save all of your entries. So we are creatures of habit, and you pretty much should. You know, we're not going to go to the grocery store and buy 3 different kinds of bacon or 3 different kinds of chips or anything, rice, pasta, cereal. We're not mixing things up that often in terms of brands. You know, certain types of food we may keep relatively the same, but we're not changing things up drastically. And the nice thing with an app like MyFitnessPal or one of the other ones is that it'll remember it for you. So when I go and I log the rice that I ate, it has the brand saved and the amounts already pre-saved from what I've used before. So yesterday, say I had for breakfast 2 eggs, a bagel, and bacon, then the next day it'll be like swipe to add, and you just swipe and it'll repeat everything that you had. If you changed one thing up, you can just swipe the other direction and delete it. So it's very user friendly. Same thing with like Cronometer. Those are 2 of the popular tracking apps. MyFitnessPal is free. You can upgrade for the premium. I've used MyFitnessPal for 4 years now and have never needed the premium. So just one of those things, if that's something that you want. With MyFitnessPal and with Cronometer, you can set your calories and your macros specific to you. So I can set that at 2,700 calories, 150 of protein, 80 of fat, and 300 of carbs if that's what I'm eating that day. The other options you can do, you can just log on paper and pen or like an Excel or a Word document. The benefit is this is you don't have to be as strict in terms of a numbers game, so you don't have to sit there and play macro Tetris on your phone, which does sometimes get a little annoying. The downside of it is that it's not as quantifiable, so you can see what you're eating. So you could see, okay, generally I'm eating this many vegetables a day. I'm generally having this much protein. You're just not going to know exact numbers. So for you, if you're just trying to regain some awareness on everything, that is a perfectly good option. If you are wanting to gain muscle or lose weight and you want it to be structured, I wouldn't recommend this route simply because it's not as quantifiable. But it is still a means of gaining awareness, so still okay. The last one is you can simply just take pictures of your food. There are a couple of apps, I don't remember what they are right off the top of my head, but there is one app that I know of that a friend has told me about that lets you log your food as pictures. So you just take a picture of your food and then log it. What this does is if you have a coach working with you, they will go and it'll still keep you accountable. So they'll be able to see, okay, this is what your meal looked like, and then they can see how generally a coach will especially know, okay, that's half a cup of sweet potatoes, about 3 ounces of chicken, and a cup of broccoli. You know, they may not know the secret oils and everything that was used to cook, but generally they'll have a decent idea. I'll be able to know if someone is severely undereating or overeating and can give advice based off of that. So those are kind of the 3 ones, and basically you would choose the one that you need the most. If you're trying to make a drastic change and you're ready to go big, go home, go the full 100%, go for the tracking app. You won't have, it probably will let you get where you want faster so that you don't have to track that way as long as some of the other means, which may take a little bit of time to adjust. Once you've decided on that tracking metric, I'm going to really be focusing on the apps like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or any of those, because that's where you kind of get into a numbers game. So once you've decided that system that you want to have, whether it is app, pictures, Excel, Word, or just diary, food diaries, you're going to just take 3 to 7 days to just practice. See where you're at and don't change anything. Simply just observe, eat and observe, like the dream diet in my opinion. It's just eating and observing what you're doing. This is going to just teach you or just show you what you're doing. So don't try to change anything. I have a lot of people who do food logs and they try to eat good, or they ask me like, what food should I be eating during this food log? And I'm like, I don't want you to change anything. If you have bourbon for breakfast, keep having bourbon for breakfast. I probably will change it and maybe move it to dinner and maybe a couple times a week, not every single day. But I don't want to see that difference, because as soon as we start making any changes, you're going to revert back to old habits. So keep those same habits the same in that initial food log. And this is going to let you see, oh shit, I eat way more on the weekends. Or, wow, I really don't eat when I don't sleep. These are going to help teach you awareness, which is really the end goal when it comes to tracking. So just take 3 to 7 days, include a weekend or a day on the weekend, because we all know that those are 2 very different scenarios. My Saturday that I just had, I worked out, which was great, but I had like 3 meals before noon. I had my breakfast, and then I worked out, and then I had a post-workout meal, and then we went to the beach. It rained. We went and grabbed some nachos, and then I went home, got a text, hey, we're having pizza and we're just drinking. So I went and had some pizza and some beer, and then was gonna leave, but I had half my pizza, and then I had the full pizza by 1:30 when I got home. So we all know those kind of days, and I didn't do that while during the week. I have my structured breakfast, lunch, pre-dinner-ish type 4 or 5 meals a day. Don't do that on the weekends. So make sure you do have those differences observed. And then each day, just make the observation, what did you do? What things look good? What doesn't? From there, each day, just make a note of one thing that you would change. Maybe, oh, let's have more, I notice I'm under eating. Can you make another meal? Or can you add a little bit to each meal? Those are 2 general options that you have if you're not eating enough, or you see, holy shit, I'm eating so much on the weekends because I'm so miserable by the time I get to the weekend that I have nothing else to do. Well, okay, instead of eating 3,000 calories on the weekend, what if you took 2,000 or 200 from that, 200, and allocate that to 3 to 4 days? Still gives you a little bit more than 2,000 to have for the weekend, but also it'll then just give you more in the week, so you're not going to get to the weekend starving, feeling like you have to go for the nachos. Instead, you can go to where you're eating and have healthier options, or just not feel so restricted. It'll just teach you awareness. But make those notes every single day, something that you would change. Then, once you get to that second week, one day, just make a change. Don't make all the changes in one day. Just every day, make one change that you can easily make. Start small. You're not going to change a habit overnight. It takes practice and consistency to build habits. And if you overload yourself and you burn out too fast, then you're never going to stick with it. And with MyFitnessPal, especially in Chronometer, any of the apps, it takes a 2-ish week learning phase to get used to logging in your food. You eat all this stuff in a week, then you're going to have to practice putting all that stuff in. So MyFitnessPal is very convenient once you have all that stuff logged in, but it takes about a week or 2 weeks to get those foods you typically have logged in. So if you eat frozen waffles one time a week, it'll take you a little bit to get those logged in. If you started on a Monday, but you typically eat it on a Friday, it'll take 5 days to get all of your food, logged in. So be aware of that learning phase. But once you have passed that learning phase and you're ready to make small changes, you're just making those small changes and just every day or every other day making a small change that you can do for your diet if that is what you want. It doesn't have to be too crazy. And then from there, you're going to have likely you have a set calories or macros. And if you don't, and that is something you're interested in, go to my website and you can go to my services page or my blog page. Simply just click on that page and you can download my ebook. That is going to be your resource to setting up your diet so that you have a set number of calories and macros, so protein, fats, and carbs you should eat in your day. You can plug those into your app, whether it's Chronometer, MyFitnessPal, any of the other ones, and that's going to help you decide and change and adjust your day so that you can be around those calories and macros. So when you are making those observations, do note whether you are over or under on calories or all of those macros. And then when you're making the changes, maybe one day you're like, okay, let's get 120 grams of protein instead of 100, and then the next day you're maybe doing 125 or something like that. From there, you're just going to make subtle changes, and once you are at a point where you're done with those little changes, then you're ready to take on the full-fledged impact of tracking, and that is preparing. So helping you practice and prepare. So we're rebuilding habits. They're not going to be intuitive, so you have to force them in the first little bit so that they eventually become habitual. People who have to start a new job and they're usually waking up, actually let's take college students who never have to go to an 8 a.m. They're used to going to a class at like 12:30, or maybe they have a first class at 2, and then they go to bed at like 1, and then they start a job that means that they have to be at work at 7 a.m. so they have to get up at 5. You're not gonna just not set an alarm because you should be able to wake up because whatever excuse you want to say. No, those habits need to be retaught. You need to retrain your circadian rhythm to release melatonin earlier to get you to sleep, and release cortisol earlier in the morning to wake you up so you're not so groggy, and adjust how you're releasing and adrenaline and everything like that, and helping you when you need to drink coffee. It takes practice. Your hunger has to adjust. If anyone is a late morning person and then wakes up early, they're not hungry because their body's used to being asleep, and they don't get hungry until later in the afternoon. So same thing comes with changing your diet and changing habits. You got to kind of force it. You have to set an alarm. You have to pre-log to help you retrain those habits. So the best strategy that comes to tracking is pre-logging. And it seems annoying, but it is so crucial to being successful with your diet, learning awareness, and just helping your day, making it feasible. You're not going to be able to just whimsically go through the day being like, I want to have eggs for breakfast, and then I'll go to lunch, I'll have a grapefruit and a piece of toast, and then dinner I'll have some pasta. You're going to be at about 1,100 calories come 7 p.m. that night. Why? Because you didn't log ahead of time. You're going to then log all that in, be like, shit, I need to eat 1,000 more calories. But we shouldn't eat 1,000 calories at 8 p.m. when you're going to bed at 9. So the night before, what you're going to want to do is just log things in ahead of time. Start with those guaranteed meals that you're not going to change. And this is where non-negotiables come in. I have a client whose non-negotiable is a glass of bourbon every single time he gets off work. Fine, cool with me. Don't change it right now, at least. But that's the first thing he's going to log in, and because that's not going to change. Another client has the same thing for breakfast. He has 4 eggs, 3 pieces of bacon, sometimes a glass of milk or orange juice or a piece of toast. Log those things in first. If you have a protein shake after you work out, log those in first, because those aren't going to change. And then from there, log in your proteins, those proteins you're going to have in a day. Then log in the vegetables that you're going to have. Then go ahead and look, whether it varies per app, whether it's MyFitnessPal or Chronometer. But MyFitnessPal, you can just tap that calorie number, that is how many calories you're putting in your body, or you can scroll all the way down to nutrition. Tap that, it'll go to a pie chart with how many calories and macros you've eaten for the day. Look at those and see if you're close to your goal or not, and then figure out, okay, I'm 50 under on carbs, I'm going to take that and have a full cup of rice for dinner, or I'm going to have a cup of pasta. I'm 20 grams low on fat, so I'm going to have some butter thrown on the pasta, or maybe some cheese with my eggs, or something like that. And that's where you kind of can play around and play that macro Tetris, but it's not spur of the moment, last minute at 9 p.m. at night that day. You're doing it the day before, because it's going to help you teach that. And then it seems a little bit more intuitively the next day. You can just say, I'm hungry, what should I eat? Go to your app, you see what is logged. Okay, you eat that, and you just gain the awareness and the practice of being able to do that. And then as you progress through that, spend some time making it an actual habit. And then from there, you would just spend some time practicing how to intuitively eat. And I will have that as another video coming up. So that is all I got on tracking. I could probably spend 10 years talking about how to track, how to make tracking most successful for you, but that is the basic gist of applying tracking to your life and to your diet so that you can never track again. It's all about practice, consistency, and just dedicating a little bit of time to changing the habits and dedicating the work that is needed to change said habits. Just because you have a tracking app doesn't mean you have to be obsessive about what you eat. It is simply just a tool to help you change your diet, which is something that most people who do come to me, they want to have healthier options. They want to learn healthier options. They want to learn how to fuel their bodies. This is what is going to help take you to the next level. So if you have any questions, please feel free to message me on Instagram, email, phone, not really a phone. Any of those other options, have access to me. Send me a question. I will be happy to answer. With that, I'll let you go. Have a great rest of your day.